Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
You go into your shower feeling, but as soon as you reach for the Irish Spring, your day immediately gets better. That crisp, fresh, unmistakable Irish Spring scent zings your brain and awakens your senses. So when you finally emerge from the shower, 37 minutes later, because you pay the water bill so you can stay in there as long as you want, you're ready to take on the day and smell great doing it. Irish Spring Body Wash and Bar Soap. Fresh, green, Irish. Shop now at Walmart.
It's time for a Big Blue Kickoff Live.
Nobody can ever tell you that you couldn't do it, because you did.
On Giants.com.
You know what I saw? New York Giant pride.
And the Giants mobile app.
17-14 is the final. One touchdown, we are world champions. Believe it, and it will happen.
Part of the Giants Podcast Network.
Let's go out there like a bunch of crazy dogs. Have some fun.
Hello, everybody. It's Tuesday. Welcome to Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. I am John Schmeelk, joined by Paul Dottino. We're going to take a lot of your calls today, folks. So get on the line, 201-939-4513. 201-939-4513. We'll stick on the game from over the weekend. If you want to call up about the Browns coming up next Sunday, you certainly can as well. Paul, I was on yesterday. I'm sure they tired of hearing from me about what happened in the game. We have not heard from you since the game. Give me your bullet points that you walked away with on Sunday.
Well, bullet points, I think ultimately, it was really a mixed bag, as I'm sure everybody has seen or talked about over the last 2 days. There were some positives and there were some negatives, and that's just the nature of the beast right now. I think the only thing that I'm kind of hanging my hat on a little bit is that it was definitely better than week one. Week one was not a good performance in any way, shape, or form. It was hard to find straws that you could at least grasp to and say, all right, that was a good starting point, or that was a move in the right direction. It was hard to find in the Minnesota game, no matter where you looked. In this game, there were at least some things that you could say, all right, you know what? Daniel Jones played well enough to win. He certainly put the ball on fourth down right where it needed to be, which would have put them in position to win the game.
Yeah, it wasn't a perfect performance, but he was good enough to win the game.
He was good enough to win the game.
Yep.
We saw Devin Singletary run the ball much more effectively, and the line blocked more effectively.
That was the best offensive line play I've seen from the Giants in years.
Long time.
Mm-hmm.
We saw, even though Neighbors could not get a handle on that last ball, we saw Neighbors do a lot of really cool things with the pigskin during the course of the afternoon. So, yes, there were positive things there. We also saw more quarterback pressure, and they did blitz some too. I mean, heck, Jason Pinnock, one of the safeties, had two sacks. So there was some things, at least in this game, that you could chew on. You could not find anything to chew on after game one. So that ultimately, as I come away with a net result, that's my net, is that at least there was some things to chew on. If you can get more of those things to chew on in game three against a Cleveland Browns team that to this point has been offensively challenged, well, maybe you go into Cleveland and you stick it to them. Maybe you do. But, they still got to go out there and they've got to execute. And one thing that we have said, John, and no matter how optimistic we might have been in July or August, I think we both agreed to this. If the Giants don't go in every weekend and play at least up to the level of their football card and maybe even a little bit better, they're just not good enough to bring their C game against anybody. Their C game is going to lose most times. And that's just the facts. They've got to bring at least an A- game. Maybe a B+, I don't know. I think maybe an A- game is what they've got to do if they're going to go win games every weekend.
Well, and the problem, Paul, is that they showed up with their D- game defensively in week number 2.
And that's not good enough.
No, clearly not. And that's going to have to get better this week because as inept as the Browns have been offensively the first 2 weeks, last week, I don't know if you've watched that game yet. Have you watched any of that Browns-Jaguar game?
I have not seen it. I know of what happened, but I have not watched it yet.
They run 6 or 7 offensive linemen on the field, probably around a dozen times in the game.
Okay.
This is right up your alley. It's all power run game.
Mm-hmm.
So it starts with the run defense, Paul. They gave up 230 rushing yards or 215 rushing yards, whatever it was, 170 or so in the traditional run game with taking Jaden Daniels complete out of it.
Right.
Still about 7 yards per carry in the traditional run game. If that's not better this week, because it's going to be hard to score in this Browns defense. Their defense is good.
Oh,
they
sure.
held Dak Prescott under 200 yards. They held Trevor Lawrence to under 50% completions. This defense is legit. It is going to be hard to score points against them.
Oh, sure.
If you give up 20 points in this game, you lose.
Yeah, you very
If you
well
give
could.
up 20, you lose, unless you can get some pick sixes, special teams touchdowns, things like that. So this defense has got to be better. And until that gets better, and you mentioned the pass rush is pretty good. Right now, the Giants are 7th in the NFL in pressure rate, 39%, according to Pro Football Focus. It's pretty good.
John,
But when you can't stop the run, you can't cover anybody. Doesn't matter a whole lot.
What I wonder is, and look, I didn't study enough of Titans tape when Shane Bowen was there, and we all know that his defenses were very good against the run and they didn't blitz much. We know all about the characteristics of his defense. What I don't know is, how often did he employ the strategy of the bend but don't break? And how often did he also employ the strategy of, look, it's okay if we give up 150 yards on the ground. We're just going to do what we can to eliminate the passing game.
Well, given how good their run defense was, I imagine not very much.
I imagine not either, but how many times were there? There might have been some games where they did that.
And there's a level of bend.
I don't know.
There's a level of bend that don't break that works.
Sometimes.
Any level, you can't bend so much that you give up a score on every possession and you don't force a punt and a takeaway.
That's not good. No question. The Giants have to get some takeaways. I did like the fact, as
Or
I said,
force a punt.
I did like, and I said this on the post game, the fact that Washington was 6 times to the 15 or closer and had to get 6 field goals. I asked Bobby Okereke about it after the game, and I said, to think that you did not give up a touchdown and they got inside your 15 6 times and they couldn't get it past the goal line? I mean, that's impressive.
The problem is that some of that was self-sabotage.
Well,
they had 3 procedural penalties inside
and
the 15.
You know what, though? I thought about that, and I went back, and I did look at those plays again. And I do think that Washington's offense was somewhat flustered about what the Giants were doing down there.
There were false start penalties, Paul.
False starts can be guys are intimidated. Guys are
Why would you be intimidated against a defense that hasn't stopped you the whole game?
Because what happens is when you get into the red zone and things are more
You're
compact,
not giving credit to the Giants defense for false start penalties. Come on.
No, what I'm saying is that there are times when you get deep into the red zone that a defense can, with their anticipation and with what they are doing, they can force the offense into making dumb mistakes, especially false starts.
Well, like holds I get and things like that, but whether or not you give it as a false start is completely under your own control.
Well, offensive coaches will tell you that because they're like, that's on us, that's all us, that's all us, that's all us. But then the player winds up telling the coach, yeah, but I thought this guy was doing this to me, and that's why I jumped. It does happen. There is a cause and reaction that sometimes causes false starts. I mean, every time that we would see Evan Neal false start or Schmitz or anybody else on the Giants offensive line false start, a lot of times it's because, you know what? They're concerned about the guy in front of them.
Right,
it happens.
But in the end, it's still on Schmitz and Neal when they fall start or whomever it is to
I'm
fall
not
start.
disputing
Right.
that. It's still on them.
Right.
The Commanders still have to hold their water and not make a mistake. But I do believe that the Giants' defensive front, in those instances, they did things that perhaps caused a bit of a flinch. And so I do give the Giants credit for keeping them out of the end zone. I appreciate the fact that they didn't force a punt, and that stinks. They didn't get a turnover. That stinks. But they also kept them out of the end zone. And when you consider that there were 6 trips to the 15 or inside, I'm sorry. I look at that as a positive.
No, it's a positive, but it's overcome by the fact that the offense had 7 possessions because the defense couldn't get off the field.
Well, ultimately, it's overcome by the fact that they couldn't stop them on the last possession. That's the thing that upsets me more than anything else, is that the game is tied. You give up the ball, and then they go, 65 yards or whatever it was to get the winning field goal.
Right.
I mean, that's the one that makes me disappointed in the defense more than anything else.
Which, by the way, it looked like they could have probably scored a touchdown on that series if they wanted to as well, but they didn't have to.
I mean, who knows?
Right.
But the pass to Noah Brown where he turned around Cordell Flott. He just turned him around.
There was no one within 20 yards of him.
And I gave Cordell Flott my gasser on defense because that was the play that put them on the positive side of the 50 and set them up into potential scoring range for the winner.
My larger point, even if you do hold them all to field goals, right, which is, again, certainly better than giving up touchdowns. You only give up 21 points. That's not an absurd amount of points. Certainly better. No question. It's a positive. No argument. But you can't allow the other team to have 38 minutes of time of possession.
No, it's not that good. I agree with that. I would also counter on the other side of it. You had Singletary fumble at the 35-yard line.
Yep, that was a bad play.
Ball.
Otherwise, he played really well, but that was a bad play.
Okay, and that, in all honesty, should have been 3 more points at the very least for the Giants.
Well,
let's say
I'm not sure they're getting 3 with the kicker situation.
No. I'm going to put this in the context of a normal situation.
Got it.
And this is why I think Daniel Jones played well.
No, look, that Singletary fumble probably took
points off the board.
Correct. That's
okay,
fair.
at least 3.
Yeah, that's fair.
Remember, the Giants did score 3 touchdowns. They might have gone in for a touchdown on that drive.
That's possible. Sure.
And under a normal situation, the 4th down conversion that you would have hoped Neighbors to hold on to also would have been at least 3 points, if not more. So even though the Giants only scored 18, I'm saying in my mind, Daniel Jones played well enough to give this offense 24 points. And they frittered away at least 2 field goal opportunities. Yeah. With a drop ball and with a fumble.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
So if there's one thing that I can say to everybody out there, back off Daniel Jones for a week because he did what he had to do to give them a chance.
Yeah, we didn't have any phone calls on Jones yesterday, but we are going to have one today. You want to take some calls?
Let's go.
201-939-4513. Jason in New York wants to lead off talking about DJ. Jason, what's up?
Well, hey, guys. How you doing today? Thank you for all the content you guys give us.
No problem, Jason. What do you got today for us? Thanks for calling in.
All right, so the ridiculous hate on Daniel Jones at this point is just, if you're on any science, fan sites, stuff like that, the hatred for him, and now the call for Dable to get kicked out too, it's just ridiculous. And I used to not be a Daniel Jones fan, but I listened to what Eli said. I started watching Danny Jones. He has some issues, of course, not even a question, but the dude was hurt from one of the worst offensive lines. Basically, what I hear is in the history of the NFL last year, right? Got destroyed, and then he goes his first game back, he's panicking. You can see his eyes; he's panicking. I understood that. You don't want to get creamed again. You don't want to be out again. So give the guy a break.
He looked much more comfortable. He looked much more comfortable in the pocket in week 2, Jason. I agree with you, 100%.
Absolutely. I was very happy. I mean, it sucks that Graham Gano got nuked. For trying to chase that run down. I wish a punter wouldn't chase down plays, but it is what it is. We'll have a different kicker this week, and hopefully they can do better. But the defense can't let everybody walk them down the field like that. That was just ridiculous.
We're with you. Jason, you got anything else for us?
That's about it. But thank you guys for listening to me. Appreciate it. Thank you for everything you guys do.
No problem, Jason. Thank you for listening and watching and listening to all our content. Without you guys, we wouldn't have a chance to do this, which we love to do. So we appreciate that. No word on a replacement kicker, by the way. So if we do get word on that today, I guess it won't be till tomorrow morning when Brian Dable addresses the media at 12:30. It usually is.
I think
so. But once we get word on that, we'll let you know.
Yeah. Hey, look, one thing I could tell you for sure is that the Giants offense needs to take advantage of every scoring opportunity they can get their hands on, which means this is an important decision. You do not want to be, frittering away 3-point opportunities. You just can't do it. The Giants don't have a lot of room for error, John, if at all. Not the way they're playing right now.
The margin for error is still very small.
So you got to take advantage of every scoring chance.
Agree 100%. All right, Coach Marvin in Delaware. Coach, I'm happy to get you in a little bit earlier in the show so we don't feel rushed here. What's going on, Coach?
How you doing, John and Paul?
Could be better, Coach. How about you?
I'm doing okay. I tried to get on a few times. It's tough to get on now. Once a week, it makes it tough. I wanted to call Friday, but before I start on that, you guys was talking about the defense. Again, I hear people talking about what coaches need to be fired and all this stuff. I hear that. And everybody that says what coach needs to be fired wasn't the person that hired them. So the only person going to fire him is the owner. Until the owner starts saying, I'm looking at fire him, we shouldn't be talking about who should get fired or not. That should come down to ownership. The defense you guys were talking about, I thought they played, in my opinion, they got different, they think different than I do. I thought we started off the game soft coverage. And every time, and what their confidence got up is they were throwing those screens, those wide receiver screens, and they just kept driving down the field. So when you're on your heels in the secondary and can't play a little aggressive, pick your spots, then you're on your heels pretty much all day.
Well, Coach, I want to ask you a question, Coach, real quick. In all sincerity, you knew going in that the Commanders were going to try to throw a lot of those quick screens and quick throws outside. They did it in week 1. It was on tape. We all knew they were going to do it. At the same time, you got a young secondary, so you don't want to play. You're not going to play a lot of press. You don't want these guys to get behind you for big plays. So how do you balance that, trying to get after that quick screen game and be aggressive against it, but also mitigate your risk of letting guys over the top on you?
Well, my thing is they're going to. If I'm watching them, they didn't really have receivers that I'm afraid to get down the field on. So going into the game, if I'm playing Kansas City, then I can look at that coverage. You know what? I'm going to play back, and I'm giving them everything underneath and see if Mahomes going to be patient enough. But playing a team that don't have those explosive type receivers, which they don't, but clearing those guys, they are good. I'm not saying they're not good. But in my game plan, I can mix that up a lot more coming in, and I'll play back when I need to play back.
Fair enough.
But I'm going to play up on them. I'm not going to be 8-10 yards off of them. I'm going to get closer into that 5-yard range and give my guys a little chance. And sometimes I'm going to come up on them. They don't know when we're coming up on them, but sometimes I'm going to come up on them. And you got to balance that out. And I think what happens is we get all these coordinators, even Wink, great coordinators, and this guy's a good coordinator. I'm in a position to put him down, but I'm going to push him down and push myself up. That makes no sense to me. So the thing is, what I see is, they may have good plans, but they're using the plans they was using with the Tennessee Titans, when he was with Baltimore. I don't have those same personnel, so I got to adjust my strategy to the personnel I had. I did see something I think it was the second quarter. They blitzed the linebacker there, the one, not Okorke, the other one. McFadden. And he got in on the blitz, and McFadden's got to do better with his tackling. And that was a very good blitz, because I was saying to myself, where's the blitz packages? And I really wasn't seeing anything until at that time. Then he started feeling the pressure. But he didn't put pressure on them enough times. You can pick your spots, but you gotta force them to make plays too. You can't sit back and wait for them to make mistakes. Sometimes I can make you make a mistake.
It seemed to me, Coach, what they were trying to do with the pass rush, I'm just curious what your opinion is, that they tried to rush their 4, right? And the minute Daniels got flushed out of the pocket, then they would trigger one of those guys that was in the short zone, oftentimes a defensive back, whether it was Drew Phillips or Pinnock, guys like that, to try to take Daniels down after he broke contain from the initial rush. So I don't think it was necessarily a traditional spy, but it seemed like they kind of had that delayed rush where once he broke the package, they would kind of send that linebacker, defensive back in to try to clean it up.
And I did see some of that, but the problem with that is when he's breaking and you're in a zone like that, you don't know if to break right away at him or to wait, because if you break too soon, you're going to leave a man wide open.
No, that's a good point.
He may hit him.
Yep,
so
fair.
you're kind of like trying to balance it out, and it's like a mind game. If he's coming, my guy is kind of like, he don't know when I'm coming or if I'm staying back. So you're both playing a mind game with each other, and it's like playing chicken. who's going to chicken out first. So, you're trying to wait to see if he's going to break the line of scrimmage and start scrambling, or is he running the pass? So you get caught in between. So I can understand that. But I can understand that in the zone, you're looking at him. You can see when he's scrambling. But then if you're so spaced out sometimes, with a quarterback like that, all he needs is the space and get by one or two guys. And obviously, John, these guys don't practice tackling guys to the ground. I watch tons of NFL games. You know how many people are leaving their feet and just using their arms trying to bring a guy down. And it's like, bring your pads, bring your feet. Why are you diving? And he's right there. If you're going to dive, it's because you have no other shot to get him but to try to trip him up. These guys leave their feet too much.
Yeah, Coach, that's a league-wide problem, though, Coach. That's not just something with the Giants.
That's why I said I watch a lot of games, and it happens in every game.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to throw out about the secondary while you're talking about them, then I'll let you finish. But I do think it's important to note Deonte Banks played very well the other day. And the Giants need him to step up and be that quality number one corner that they're looking for. He had a rough day against Minnesota, had a couple of assignments that he wanted back. He played well the other day. In fact, Sports Radar had him down for four completions on 6 targets for only 29 yards. That's a hell of a day for any cornerback. And I talked to him after the game on the way to the bus.
I remember Daniels wasn't exactly throwing downfield a lot to wide receivers.
But Banks was on point this week. He bounced back and had a good game.
Yeah, he did. I mean, you're facing Jefferson, and they had time to throw him the ball. That's going to be a tough task anyway. I mean, you're not going to shut him down, but you can minimize him a little bit, and that's what he does. Banks can try to minimize him, and if you see him with big plays, it happens at a defensive back. He's playing backwards. He's running backwards. This guy's running forward. So sometimes he's at a disadvantage. You don't get a rush to help you. It depends on what you call, what the call is. Is he in a zone? Is he a 3 deep? So there's a lot of things play to why a guy get beat. And I usually don't have a problem with that because it happens. As long as he's playing consistent and giving me effort, I'm fine with what happens in the game. Because the other guy's trying to make a play too. So I'm not going to now he totally blows it, then I'm going to lose my mind. I'll be like, where were you? If guys running free through the zones, I'm pissed. But if they make a play, I'm fine with it. You guys were talking about when they were dropping down the field like crazy and holding the ball. But when those teams get in the red zone, and everybody knows this, what I'm about to say is what happens in the defense. You get your 12th man, which is the end zone, the out of bounds of the end zone. Mm-hmm. So you can't throw deep. Everything can stay in front of me now. So if I'm playing in the secondary, all I got to do is make sure they don't stretch me out wide so those zones don't open up. So as long as you can keep everything in front of you, you can make plays. That's why it's so tough in the red zone. That's why you have to run the ball, because once you start passing, you're throwing in between, maybe 6 guys back there waiting for the ball to come out.
I didn't go back and look at the numbers there, Coach Marvin, but even on the runs inside the red zone, the Commanders didn't get anything.
No,
the Giants really stiffened up there. It was the one spot on the field where the defense did its job as well as they could.
But you got to remember, Paul, now the secondary's coming up more closer to the line of scrimmage.
No doubt.
So when you in the open 20-20, the secondary is playing deep and saying, we're not giving up anything big. I don't think Washington was a team that I really have to do that. Now, these other teams we're going to be playing that are explosive, we're going to have to play that kind of defense because you don't want to give them a big play. And all of a sudden, 2-3 plays, they done scored a touchdown. So you keep them in front of you. I can understand that. You got to just move back and forth with that. This is what they got to do. But one other thing I wanted to talk about, my last thing is on Friday I wanted to call, because I wanted to talk a little bit about Daniel Jones. I still believe Daniel has to – everybody knows he has to play better because, Paul, you said it a couple of weeks ago that this is it. This is it. This is his career. I would have invited him to my house, and I would have had a man-to-man. I wouldn't have talked to him at the stadium, and I would have told him, you got to go for it. Just play. Just go out and have fun. Don't worry about what people say, and I know that's hard. Just go play. Only thing I ask you to do is when you are back there, anticipate your throws. He's coming out of the break, get the ball out before that break. If it's wrong and they intercept it, I'm going to get the receiver because he's supposed to be there. Also, ball placement, because sometimes when they're running, he puts the ball on the number. Sometimes I want him to put the ball in front and let him outrun the defender. You put it on his number, the defender, me coaching defensive backs, I want him to put it on this number because I'm telling my backs, you get those angles, and you got a chance to get your hand in there when that ball is on his numbers. If he's running away from you, you're both trying to run to get to the ball. The receiver's going to beat you. You run across the middle. A defensive back, I tell them, you're losing automatically. As soon as you run across the middle, you're losing. If he anticipates and throws that ball in front, he's only way you're going to get him if he drops the ball. And I'd like to see him do that more. I saw this past week he threw the ball downfield. I love that. I said, chuck it up there. You got Neighbors, who's a guy that's going to go get the ball. Give him a chance. Just don't throw it to the other guy. Give him a chance. I know some people don't like 50-50 balls, but give it up there and give him a chance to make a play for you. And the other receivers, I don't know where they are. They're going to have to play better. Or Daniel's not anticipating. He sees them and he thinks they're not open. That's when I say you got to anticipate. Throw it in front of him.
Coach, we got you, man. Thank you for the call, my friend.
Guys.
Always good to hear from you, Coach. All right, 201-939-4513. Jones was better, Paul. I agree. Even on a couple of those completions, I thought he was a second late maybe on one or two of them. The one incomplete over the middle, Lawandale Robinson, for example, where he could have had Neighbors on the shallow cross in front of him. Thought he was just a split second late on that. I think he's still starting to get his rhythm a little bit here. It was certainly better in week 2 than week 1. Hopefully he'll take another step now in week number 3.
Yeah, and again, let's give a little props to the offensive line because it was the best. It was the best that they could have played.
There was a play,
under
Paul,
the circumstances
where he actually dropped back, looked right, got to repivot, get back to his left, not have to move out of the pocket, and he delivered that great deep out to Slayton on the left side. It's like, wow, I have not seen him be able to actually do that in the pocket in like 3 years.
It seemed like he had like 3 eclipses back there
before
he had to get rid of the ball on that particular play, and it was amazing.
All right, let's go to Aiden in New Jersey. He's up next. Hi, Aiden.
Hey, how's it going?
What's up, Aiden?
Hey, so I called it a few weeks ago and asked about the pressure that the coaching staff has. First, I want to make some points about Shane Bowen, then about Brian Dable.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, first off, I feel like so far, I mean, it's 2 weeks in, but I think the Shane Bowen hiring was really bad. I mean, we're bottom 5 in the league in defense. We're making Sam Darnold look like a superstar. We can't get off the field. We allow Washington to get a score on every single possession. So I think there has to be changes with the defensive scheme there.
Aiden, look, Aiden, the defense has been bad the first 2 weeks. No one would argue otherwise than that. But remember, I did say, did I not say on these same shows in the preseason that the early season defense was going to be rough because you have a very young secondary getting used to a new system. Now, you want to get on the rush defense and say, well, you know what, the rush defense needs to be better and that's not system related? I'll buy that because the rush defense stunk the last 2 years. You're in a completely different system. Now you're in a new system. The rush defense still stinks. So, yes, that needs to be better. But in terms of the secondary, it's a young group. It's a new system. I did expect a slow start for the secondary to start the year. But now it needs to start rounding into form now as you head into week 3.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that, what you're saying there. But, like, I mean, you can't be letting the offense have like take over like the entire time of possession, kill us in that game, and not getting off the field.
No, and I get it, but if you
mean?
change, no, I totally get what you're saying, and no one's saying that the defense doesn't need to be better. Of course, it does. But even if you make and they would never move off of your DC after 2 games, it's crazy. But
yeah.
Even if you make a change there, whoever you bring in, you're not changing the scheme. You know what I mean? Like you would just bring in, like you would promote Jerome Henderson. He would still run the same scheme. You would just have a different guy calling the play. So there's no way after 2 weeks you can bring in a new defensive coordinator to install an entire new way of playing mid-season. That's impossible. So This is going to be the basic scheme for the remainder of the season. It's just a matter of executing. And we've seen, historically, when executed properly, the Shane Bowen system does work.
Okay, yeah, that's good to hear. Some hope there. And with Brian Dable, my problem is, I mean, I don't want him to get fired, everything. I mean, my thing is here, I mean, we just last year and this year too, with that last game, and even games that haven't been close, we lost. I feel like it needs to be better, and we need to be able to close those games like the Giants were finding ways to win two years ago. And now I feel like not even that what was I gonna say, that I feel like there's a problem with the Giants with hiring first-time head coaches, because you've seen it with McAdoo and who else? Joe Judge, and now Brian Dable is the first-time head coach, and I feel like there's a little bit of a lack of experience here. Like, even that he exceeded expectations his first year, I feel like he's struggling in a way, and that shows that like he doesn't have much experience as a head coach.
All right. Well, thanks for the call. Appreciate it. I want to give you a couple of numbers here. And again, history does not necessarily dictate future results. We talk about the stock market all the time. It does not. But just as a matter of point, John, when Shane Bowen took over as defensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans, he had already been a defensive assistant there at the time, and then they promoted him to D.C. The first 2 games of that season, they gave up 38 points and 416 yards to the Cardinals and lost 38-13. In the second week...
This is his first year as defensive coordinator.
Yes.
Okay.
In his second game as defensive coordinator with Tennessee, they beat the Seahawks 33-30. Okay, so they gave up 30 points or more in each of the first 2 weeks and gave up 397 total yards of defense. So that's combined 800 yards allowed in 2 games, and I don't know how many of these could have been turnovers or special teams, but the Titans did allow 68 points and 800 yards over the first 2 games of Shane Bowen as a defensive coordinator. Now, is that a coincidence that the Giants' defense in many ways has struggled through the first 2 weeks? I'm not going to say it is or it isn't. I'm simply giving you some facts here. Is it possible that even though he had been a Titans assistant, when he took over as DC, there was an acclimation period that these guys needed to get into because their defense played better after those first 2 weeks? Is it possible that this Giants defense also needs an acclimation period? I'm just giving you facts, folks. I'm not giving you sugar-coated glasses or sugar-coated drinks or blue-framed or blue lens glasses. I'm not giving you homerism, and I'm not giving you excuses. I'm simply telling you what some of the facts are, and if you want to interpret them a certain way, that's on you. That's not on me. I'm just giving you those facts.
Look, and we said I thought it would, what that game looked like on Sunday was my worry of what, if the early season didn't go well, what it might look like. I didn't think it would look like week 1 where the offense was, just inept and not very good, right? But I was afraid you were going to have games where the offense did enough to win, but the defense couldn't hold at their end of the bargain. Again, new system. It usually takes some time for these guys to figure things out. Look at the Cowboys in week 2 against the Saints. Mike Zimmer, we know he's a good coordinator, right? And they got absolutely lit up by the Saints. Mm-hmm. It happens. It takes some time to figure these things out. Is that a guarantee that they're going to? Absolutely not. We'll have to wait and see. But you shouldn't rush to judgment after just 2 games. As bad as it's been, and it's been bad, but you got to hope it gets better. We'll have to wait and find out and see.
Look at Cincinnati. We know that defensive coordinator very, 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 very well, don't we?
Yeah, good coordinator.
Heck of a coordinator. Got him to a Super Bowl. All right?
I mean, they've only given up 42 points, though. They've been okay defensively.
But
I remember, and 7 of those points was a fumble return for a touchdown.
I'm sure they would like to have played better, though.
Yeah.
Because Joe is regarded as one of your better defensive coordinators in this league.
Lou.
Yeah. Lou Anarumo. I called him Joe. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm trying to think of who you were thinking of.
I know a lot of Joes. That's my problem. I know a lot more Joes than I know Lou's.
Well, you're Italian. I get it.
This is true.
The Ravens own too, also, by the way, which I think people are.
Yes, they are.
By, so.
And by the way, they're habitually known for having a really good defense.
Yeah, they also lost Mike McDonald and 2 or 3 of their assistants off that staff too. So again, another group that you're trying to figure out. I think they have the same system, but obviously a different guy leading it.
Right.
So remember, the Giants, it's a whole new system, folks. Very different what they did the last 2 years. So
incredibly
it's something that they're hopefully going to figure out sooner rather than later, because you need to. You can't afford to lose many more games here, but it is what it is.
You want something to hang your hat on? How about the fact that the rest of the division is 1-1, and no one has pulled away with a 2-0 record already in the first 2 games? How about just lean on that for a minute? 1-1, 1-1, 1-1, 0-2.
It's certainly better than them being 2-0, I suppose.
It absolutely is. Absolutely is.
And then it's funny, Eagle fans got a taste last night. As great as Saquon is, as much as we like him, he does have issues catching the ball sometimes in spots that can hurt the team. And we saw that at the end of the game last night.
He cost the Giants a game at MetLife Stadium last year on that same play. He was all alone, walking to the end zone, and he dropped the ball. And it cost the Giants a game last year.
Another game, too, where he dropped the ball, popped in the air, and got returned for a touchdown.
And now, this game last night, the same thing happened to him in Philadelphia.
It's weird with him. Like, people always talk about him as such a great receiver. Highest drop rate among running backs in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
He has too many drops.
And I think, John, from seeing him close up on the field, and in many cases when he had those, what I think his problem is, we're watching the replay here again.
He didn't take his eye off the ball on that one. It doesn't look like it, right?
Yeah, it's not about his eye off the ball. It's his body language.
He starts to turn too quick?
Yes, that's what I think it is.
Yeah,
he does look the ball in, but the rest of his body is thinking, go, 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 go. And, well, what a shame. The Eagles lost last night. Too bad. Shall we go?
Shaded Freud, I love it. Giants Huddle Podcast, folks, go check it out. Baldinger's not up yet, right, Pearson? It is. Beautiful. Yeah, I recorded Brian Baldinger yesterday at 3 o'clock. Really good conversation. We probably went like 25 minutes or so, Pearson, give or take. Really good conversation. I think not sure if his Baldy breakdowns are up yet. If they will be shortly. He breaks down the Giants' offensive line, running game, and Malik Neighbors. They'll go up on the Giants' social feeds. And if they're not up, they should be up there a little bit. You can actually tell them upstairs to put them up. They're not up yet, Pearson, since the podcast is up. So that'll be going up today. Check it out. We're happy to have Baldy on board here doing some content with us during the year. It's not going to be every week, but we didn't do anything after week 1 because, quite frankly, I couldn't really find much great in that game that I wanted Baldy to break down. So we decided to skip week 1, and we had at least something this week, to Paul's point at the start of the show, that you can be happy about. So Baldy did break some of that stuff down, and the podcast is fantastic. Giants Huddle Podcast, it's now located again on the Giants Podcast Network feed. So search for that, Giants app, giants.com/podcast, or just search for Giants Podcast Network on your favorite podcast platform. Rich in Virginia is up next. Hey, Rich.
Hey, good afternoon, John and Godfather. I concur with your points about adjustments to a new system. Let us not forget the first 2 games of the 07 season.
Spags.
When the Spags defense gave up 80 points to Green Bay and Dallas. And remember the goal line stand in Washington. Turn around.
Kavika Mitchell.
So, now there is one difference, and I will give this honest caveat. That year, it was Tony Romo and Brett Favre. This year, it's Sam Darnold and Jaden Daniels.
Yes.
A little bit different.
That is true.
A little bit different.
That is true.
I understand.
Yeah.
So, look, as Wilson would say, listen. I mean, he cracks me up. But we're all frustrated with what's going on with all this losing. And, I've been around since the early 60s, and we went through the 60s and the 70s. And I really appreciate the Team BBKL just taking it's not the wrath, but, we're taking the calls of people who are really frustrated. And, when you push yourself away from the table, it's okay to vent. I guess it's therapeutic, but we can't change anything. We're not involved in any leadership positions in there. So kudos to you guys. I'd like to talk about the positives. Everybody knows about the Giants' weakness. It's not rocket science. John, I remember you saying over and over, and I totally agree, if we can get a functional offensive line that for once perhaps can even cover a block a stunt, we'd be happy. And I totally concur. I don't know what the PFF grades were on these last two games for offensive line.
They were pretty strong. They were okay.
Yeah, so kudos. I mean, it's perhaps we actually have a really functional offensive line. Now we got some tough D's coming up, but kudos to Joe Shane putting that line together.
Right now, Lou, I can give you the number. Rich, I'm sorry. The Giants are right now ranked 16th, middle of the league in terms of actually, hold on, let me update that. I have a filter in there. The Giants right now in terms of pressure rate allowed, they're 21st in the league at 36%. Much, much better than the 30th and 31st and 32nd they were last year. So it's certainly an improvement.
Amen to that. And lastly, look at some of these the players that are really playing well. Newman is a rookie, playing really well. Obviously, Neighbors playing really well. Tracy, the rookie out of Purdue. Motor.
Andrew Phillips has had some big plays the first 2 weeks.
Yes, really well. Motor and Pinnock, etc. So there's some good players. I'm frankly disappointed. I disagree with Carl Banks. Thibodeau and Brian Burns have just been disappointing. But hopefully they'll turn it up. So I just wanted to give you guys a pat on the back. It's tough being a Giant fan. I'll be a Giant fan until I go to heaven, and up there we always win the Super Bowl. So thanks for doing a good job. Go Giants, go Giants, go Giants.
No, appreciate the call, Rich. And
some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Burns and Thibodeau got more pressure in week 2 than they did got in week 1, certainly. And for good reason, the offensive tackles of the Commanders aren't nearly as good as they are.
Correct.
For the Vikings.
They need to be better, John.
No, I agree.
They
Burns had a sack. It got called back because of a defensive holding penalty, and he did force 2 offensive holding penalties, one in week 1 and one in week 2.
Which, by the way, the call on Phillips, the guy ran right into him, ran through him, and knocked him over.
It looked bad. I don't disagree with your analysis on it, but if you're the official and you're looking at it from the outside, it looked like Phillips dragged him down. That's what it looked like. I get where you're coming from on your analysis, though.
It's a tough call. It's a very tough call.
I didn't love the first Pinnock defensive hold. I thought that was a little bit nitpicky, but I got it too. It looked like he was holding him coming out of his break.
But the truth is, the Giants need Burns and Thibodeau to be huge factors. They need to be impact players on defense. To this point, they have not been, and they need to be. They need to be headache players. That's really what it comes down to. They need both of these guys to play at a much higher level. And, the sooner that happens, the better.
Absolutely. 201-939-4513. 201-939-4513. Let's go back to the phones. And by the way, how about this, Paul? On stunts this year, the Giants have faced 17 of them.
Okay.
They're the 5th best team in the league in terms of pressure rate allowed versus stunts.
That's
how about that?
That's an unthinkable number after what we've seen the last few years.
8 years? It's not even few.
I mean, wow. Look,
and again, one of those is against no one is better than running stunts than Dan Quinn. That's what he does. That's what he killed
forever.
The Giants with those the last 2 years with the Cowboys. Now, obviously, there's no DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons. That makes a difference.
No,
but there's improvement there.
I mean, and this is why again we do have a bunch of things that are on the table that we can say the Giants are doing better at. Now, they need to do better at more things if they're going to start winning games. That's a fact. There's no question about that. They're not doing enough of good things, or they would not be 0-2. But at least there's something there that you can point to, as opposed to there are 9 teams in the NFL right now, John, that are 0-2. 9. I guarantee you that whatever shows are going on in each of those 9 cities, the people are totally up in arms saying, holy good God, our team is 0-2. We can't do anything right. When are we going to win a game? Get rid of everybody, blah, 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 blah. That's probably the way it's going in every one of those NFL cities right now.
Yeah.
So
a lot of blah, blah, blahing, that's for sure.
For sure. And what you hope is that at least you have something that you can chew on. And the Giants do have a few things that we can chew on, and now they just got to go out there and win a game.
All right, let's go to Charlie in Maine. Hi, Charlie.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Could be better, Charlie.
We were doing great till you called.
Speak for yourself.
Go ahead.
I've been miserable for 2 days, Paul, but that's okay.
That's all right. Go ahead, Charlie. What do you got?
Look, I'd rather be 0-2 and be a Baltimore Raven and in Cincinnati Bengal than I would be a New York Giant.
Well, yeah, they have Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow. I'd feel better about that, too. They have two of the best quarterbacks in football.
Okay, which means that their disappointment should be 5 times worse than the Giants. So you're actually in reverse on this one, Charlie. You got it all backwards.
They know they're going to win.
And they do. They know.
And you got to remember, we played Washington. Washington, us, and the Panthers are the worst 3 teams in the league. And this offense went through us like butter. 30 other teams would have scored at least 1 touchdown 6 times in the red zone. All right? Even the Panthers would have scored once, I think. So, look, we played a bad team. And you can say our offensive line is 16th right now. Well, we got a matchup against Cleveland that is not very good. They got a good defensive line. They get sacked. They get a lot of pressure.
Correct. Yeah, correct, Charlie. Yeah, but I'm sorry. I misunderstood. You said that it's not very good. You mean the matchup's tough, because the Browns' defense is strong. Yes. No, absolutely. We agree with that.
Yeah, and you're going to see where our offensive line is playing a really good defensive front. We're not going to be 16th after this game. I can guarantee you.
Remember,
that.
They don't have a ton of guys up there besides Garrett, Charlie. That's one of their issues. They don't have a bunch of pass rushers besides Garrett that are that scary.
Yeah, but what's his face? Schwartz will he'll blitz.
No,
right?
Sure he will. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Schwartz will blitz a little
All
bit.
I'm saying is, Jones played a mediocre game. Okay, he played okay. He didn't turn the ball. That was the big thing. He didn't turn the ball over. He was like 18 for 28. 57%. He threw 18 times to Neighbors and missed 10 of them. So I don't call that a great game.
We didn't call it a great game either, Charlie. Charlie, we didn't call it a great game either, did we?
That adjective was never used.
No.
And by the way, there were a few throws where the coverage was there and he threw the ball out of bounds and overthrew it and threw it away on purpose.
Yeah, well, that was smart. I'm glad he did that.
Yes, it was smart. And that's what good quarterbacks do.
He's not a good quarterback, Paul. But anyway, all I want to say is this, is that Cleveland will be able to run the ball against us. If Washington could run the ball against us, and if Minnesota could run the ball against us, guess what? Cleveland's going to run the ball against us because they have a really good offensive line, and they got a good running back.
If the Giants do not play better on their run defense, the Browns will run the ball against them, 100%. No question. They have to play better stopping the run. You have to.
Yeah. And it's elementary, my dear Watson, says Sherlock Mahomes, that I think that Cleveland's going to score 30-plus points on us. I think this is a get-right game for Watson, and I think he played better this week, and I think he's going to play better this week coming up. So, look, this is not a good matchup for us, and we're going to end up 0-3 going into Thursday night at home with Dallas Cowboys coming in. If we get blown out by the Cowboys and we get embarrassed and Myra gets embarrassed, I don't know what's going to happen, but I know Jones won't be playing again, but I don't know what's going to happen to the coaching staff because he's not going to put up with this, not after that first game, being embarrassed, the 100th anniversary, all the stuff that went on, all the hoopla. I'm telling you, if we go into that game and we get embarrassed on Thursday night and it's going to be a short week, I don't know what to tell you guys, but it ain't going to be pretty.
I'm glad you're.
That's all I'm going to leave it.
Got it.
I'm just going to say Cleveland is going to score 30-plus points. We're going to score maybe 13, 16, something like that.
I'm glad you're keeping a positive attitude, Charlie. Thank you very much.
Be well, Charlie. Be well.
I can't.
There's nothing else to say about him.
I got nothing.
There's really nothing else to say about him.
Sherlock Mahomes didn't make any sense.
I actually did like Sherlock Mahomes.
But it had nothing to do with the Chiefs or anything.
No, it had nothing to do with anything.
Anyway.
Now, the question is, did he do that on purpose, do you think? Or do you think he just did his classic Charlie
It's
misspeak?
50-50.
His middle nickname, though, is Chicken Little. I don't know what Charlie's last name is, but it's got to be Chicken Little.
He does always think the sky is falling.
The sky
That
is
true.
always falling
I
to
agree with
Charlie. Always. He can't help himself.
Now, in fairness, he'd be saying this if they were 2-0 too. I mean, it
Well,
would have been.
and
I mean,
that's-
he is consistent. I'll give him
And
that.
that's the reason why we are mocking him like we are.
No, I'm not mocking him. We're having
Well,
fun.
to some degree. Because you're right. If the Giants were 2-0, he would still be the sky is falling. He can't help himself. That's why it makes him a lot different than maybe some other callers who are expressing their disappointment. We understand that. Go ahead, John.
You doing okay over there?
I'm fine. Charlie has absolutely no idea what I had to hold back on during that phone call, but I did. It's okay.
Let's go to Vinny in Florida, and then you can scream one more, Pearson. Vinny, what's going on?
Hey, Schmeelk and Paulie. Hey, before I get into my issues, I wanted to say, did I do something to offend you guys or hurt you guys? Why am I on this list? Last week, right after Wilson, and this week, right after Charlie? Am I on a certain...
Now, Vinny, that's not us. You got to talk to Pearson. I don't know how Pearson's ordering the calls here. Maybe you made Pearson upset. Maybe you said something negative about Tom Brady at some point. I don't know. But now Pearson, Vinny's upset because apparently last week you put him on right after Wilson, and this week he's coming on right after Charlie. So he's unhappy with his call placement on the board here.
It's just how they come in, and then you decide, John.
Actually, Vinny decides it on the order that he calls in.
That's
really.
right.
Let's be honest.
That's
So,
right.
Vinny, it really is all your fault.
Hey, I had a busy signal before. So
I got you, man. It's all good. What do you got for us today, man?
Hey, first I wanted to say, asinine when commentators after the game are batching at Babes about putting on the roster a second kicker because the first one might get hurt. Just asinine. That shouldn't even be a question. I don't think it is, but I just wanted to kind of say that is, hey, you can't put two kickers on the team in case one gets hurt. You lose special teams because of that. The second thing I wanted to talk about was the offense, and I just want to make a couple comments about the defense. I think over the last 2 weeks, even though Saquon Barkley has played well, I think last night and the total of what happened, hey, Singletary gained 90-something yards, Barkley gained 90-something yards. From an investment standpoint, I think that's showing that the analytics, the AI makes the decision that running backs are a commodity that other folks are. So I think that justifies, and it's early to say that, but I think it justifies Joe Shane making that move because we invested more in the offensive line.
And Vinny, Singletary also did it on fewer carries.
Yeah. But at the same time, we got 95 yards. The Eagles got 95 yards.
Yep.
So and then I also wanted to say, Malik, I do expect the offense. We haven't seen Theo Johnson yet, but one catch. I expect that Cleveland may look to double team Malik, very similar to what Jalen Brunson was getting in the playoffs against Indiana, that they would just double and triple teaming him. We're going to see that until another wide receiver or tight end or even running back steps up and gets into the equation. And I think because we're such a new team, that's going to come with improvement. Theo Johnson is going to break out one game. Jalen Hyatt is going to get opportunities. So I think the offense is a part of, hey, we're just a new team with a lot of new faces, and it takes time. And 2 games is the improvement from game 1 to game 2. It was great, but we still got a long ways to go. I think it would be bold to say 15-2, but and insane. But I definitely want to say we're going to win some games, and I just despise negative people. It just crushes me. Deep optimism about something, and this person knows who I'm talking about.
Vinny, I find it a little surprising that you're willing to put Neighbors in the headache player category after one game.
Honestly, if I was an opposing defensive coordinator, he would be for me
now,
too.
He did. First game against Minnesota was like, okay. Second game, 10 for 127 and a touchdown, 18 targets. I think he's already quickly getting to that category. I don't know if he's there yet, but if the Browns decide that they're going to treat him with special treatment and a specialized plan, then he is officially a headache player.
Now the Browns,
and he might be.
The Browns play a ton of man-to-man. Denzel Ward is one of the
there
best,
anyone else?
and he's one
Ward
of the best
can play.
cover corners in the league.
He's good.
So
He's
they
good.
might just put Denzel Ward on him and let him go to work
They
and
might.
not send extra help Vin. So I'm curious to see how Jim Schwartz decides to handle that.
Now, if Ward travels
Yeah,
with him,
until
that
somebody
identifies him as a
steps up.
headache player.
Correct.
Yeah, until somebody steps up, he's about as much of a headache we're going to get. When you look at his 18 targets, 3 of those balls were bombs that were overthrown.
Yeah,
So he
because the
really
coverage
only
was there,
thought-
and Jones knew he didn't have a chance to make the play.
Well, no, the one on the left sideline, he had him.
No,
he overthrew him by
yeah,
about
he
6
could-
inches.
that one he could. You're right. You're right. That one he could.
only the one.
I expect Malik to catch some of those 50-50 balls. If he's covered, I expect him. The guy I'm expecting big things from him. The last comments I wanted to make were on the defense. We have not replaced Leonard Williams since he's left, because I thought our running program was a little bit better before Leonard Williams left. Dexter Lawrence can't do the run game himself. He can only cover one gap, right? And until we get another defensive player, Brian Burns is not Leonard Williams. He's another piece we needed, but we're gonna need to get somebody that steps up or plays or improves. And last I wanted to say is that kid, what's his name, Phillips, the number 3 pick. That guy is a dog. I mean, I have never seen a rookie in their second game be that dominant.
He likes to tackle.
At a nickel position.
He likes to
Yeah,
tackle.
I mean he's tackling Jaden Daniels too, who's not an easy. You see a lot of folks that miss those tackles when they come in.
Very rarely can you say
Thank
that
you,
a
Ben.
corner is a downhill defender. Drew
is.
Phillips is a downhill defender.
He is.
It's very, very unique to be able to say that about a guy like that.
He
And
explodes to the ball.
he does, Pearson. He plays bigger than he is.
No, he does. And that was one of the things they talked about when they brought him in. That's one of the reasons they liked him.
And that's why also when they were talking about in Hard Knocks, they had said he was the last of the tipping point corners on the board.
Kamari Lassiter, by the way, is having a nice start to his career.
Well,
Have you watched him at all? He's been good.
We talked him out at the Combine. He was my target for the second round. He's good. He's absolutely good.
All right, we'll stick in Florida. Say hi to Tom to wrap us up today. Hey, Tom.
How you doing, guys?
We're okay, Tom. What's up?
What's up? Okay. Somebody before was talking about how Thibodeau and Burns have not gotten up to what people think they ought to be yet.
Yeah.
And when I called in last Friday, I spoke to someone and said that the reason that case is because you got 2 guys, Burns and Thibodeau. I don't know what they weigh, maybe 210, 220.
No, they're about 250.
Yeah, they're bigger than that.
They're about 250.
Who's 250?
Burns and Thibodeau. I think Thibodeau is closer to 260.
You think?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't think I know.
I mean, we
Okay,
can look it up if
that's
you want.
fine. That's fine. That's fine. But they're going up against 280 and 290 tackles, and they're getting them head on. And until Mr. Bowen figures out that if he puts Dexter on the nose and a 3 on the guard and tackle on the left, and the 3 on the guard and tackle on the right. In other words, go to 5. You're not going to get the pressure you want. At that point, it ought to be blazing, number 1.
Are you talking about pass pressure? Or are you
No.
talking about run defense here?
I'm talking about both.
So you want to run a 5-man front, is what you're saying?
A 5-man front. I mean, it's obvious that this 4-man front is not doing what it needs to do. Okay? Now,
I got you.
One other thing. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I said I got you. Go ahead. What's your second point?
Conklin and Willis, by the way, just to make yourself feel a little bit better, neither guy tips the scales at 310. They're both just a shade over 300 pounds. So they're a little lighter than maybe the 315 or 320 that you might see in the league.
Is Wills back in Conklin? Because I know they both missed week one.
They're both hurt. But if they play this week,
right.
If they play this week, both guys are under 310, so they're a little light in the caboose compared to maybe some other tackles.
Oh, you mean the tackles they're going up against this week?
If the Browns starting tackles are available, neither one is considered a moose, if you will, or a boxcar.
Okay.
Or an elephant.
But that they're still giving away 20 or 30 pounds to Thibodeau and Burns. And you know, I mean, look, I can't talk about defensive football. I played wide receiver and running back when I was coming up. I was 6'3", 205 pounds, and I could get it down the road, okay? But, so I can't talk and say like some of the guys are calling, oh yeah, when I was playing, we played, you know, I can't do that. All I can do is look at the situation, look at what it's been like in the first two games. The defense has got to pick it up. And I mean, I didn't think I was going to be saying this, but I think that the way that it's being called is not giving the people the kind of opportunity that they should have. Okay, number one. Number two, Jalen Hyatt, I don't know whether he's been on the field at all this year. Okay?
He played 14 snaps last week.
Coaches said that he is one of the extra receivers. They're starting Slayton and they're starting Neighbors. When they go to extended receiver packages, Slayton will be in there. That's what he said just at his presser yesterday. That's not a secret.
That's nice. That's nice. But if it were me and if I were running that thing, I would be having Neighbors and Jalen Hyatt on the same side and have one go long and one go short. Somebody is going to screw up on that coverage, and somebody's going to be able to catch a pass. I mean, I'm not saying that they haven't done well, that Neighbors hasn't done well. I'm sure he has done well. I mean, but if you want to get some deep going on, I'm sorry.
All right, Tom.
Thank you.
Appreciate the call, Tom. I understand you're passionate. That's good. Now, the one problem is that if Wills and Conklin don't play this week and DeJuan Jones starts again, he's 375.
He's a big man,
and he's a good player. It's the other tackle where James Hudson has played, where that's the spot where you can really take advantage of things.
But again, Conklin and Wills are supposed to be the starters. If healthy, those are the guys they want out there.
And I don't think either one of those guys is on IR or PUP.
No, they're just gimpy. They're nicked up,
and they haven't played the first 2 weeks. So we'll see if they're back. Week number 3.
I would think if they were gonna be for sure, they might have been IR candidates. So you're in that shady area now.
You think we're getting to the point where if they weren't IR, they should be getting ready to play?
Right.
You would think.
Yeah,
we'll have to see, and we'll have more updates on the Browns over the course of the week on Big Blue Kickoff Live every weekday at 12:30. Tomorrow it'll be Madeline and O'Hara with us. Paul will be back on Friday with Casillas, and it's Side Tack with me on Thursday this week. So check it out. Big Blue Kickoff Live all week long, 12:30. Giants.com, Giants mobile app. Of course, the archive can be found on your favorite podcast platform. Just search for Big Blue Kickoff Live. Thanks to our callers. Thanks to Pearson. Paul, always fun to be with you, my friend.
See you, John.
It's been a few weeks. I'm happy to host with you. It was good.
Yeah. We had some fun. We kind of swam through the swamp a little bit there, but we got through it.
It's swampy. Hopefully we can de-swampify this week.
There you go.
Yeah, Pearson, let's not go there. Tomorrow, 12:30, O'Hara and Madeline, Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the Giants. We'll see you then.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
You go into your shower feeling... But as soon as you reach for the Irish Spring, your day immediately gets better. That crisp, fresh, unmistakable Irish Spring scent zings your brain and awakens your senses. So when you finally emerge from the shower, 37 minutes later, because you pay the water bill so you can stay in there as long as you want, you're ready to take on the day. And smell great doing it. Irish Spring Body Wash and Bar Soap. Fresh, green, Irish. Shop now at Walmart.